Great quality of life, excellent school system, low crime, an abundance of land, and just a pro-development attitude from our leadership, and just a community that's come together that just wants a great place to live. So, in my opinion, it's a great shining example in our state of growth is possible.
Right.
Blessed to have a great team here today.
What's the drivers of your economy?
So we're a better community for Lafayette. So oil and gas is really huge. The medical sector is growing. Tech, we're right on the Highway 90 corridor, so oil and gas is driving. Still a prominent component of it.
Sure. Okay, fantastic. Well, let me tell you a little bit about my background, and then we can get into it. And love for this to be interactive. Don't hesitate to interrupt me, and even harass me if you like. I'm used to it. I grew up just in a working class home. My dad died just before I left for college. I had to work my way through college. I had a disabled mom, but I always wanted to be a doctor, and pursued that and was admitted to medical school. Became a doctor, did my residency in the Navy. After 6 years of service there as a family physician, I started a practice in North Louisiana, a little town called Minden. Have you ever heard of Minden?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Most people think it's on the outskirts of New Orleans, but actually it's almost to Texas, as a matter of fact. So I practiced medicine there for years, but I got this entrepreneur bug, so I started opening businesses. I opened up the first Subway restaurant in North Louisiana back in the 80s, and we have 35 today. We employ over 350 Louisianans, and we got into other things, including real estate. So I've been very much in the private sector economy. Really, even though I didn't go to business school, I learned business on the fly, as you can imagine. So then I got another bug, and that was a political bug. I ran for Congress in 2008, was elected and served from 2009 to 2017. And then President Trump appointed me to a position in Health and Human Services. I served 2 years there. Then he put me in charge of the Economic Development Administration, which is part of Commerce. Have you ever even heard of the Economic Development Administration? Okay. Important because they take grants there, and with those grants, they can attract a lot of private sector investment so that you can grow your economy. You're doing a great job now, but don't forget about that. It should have a direct link with the LED, but really hasn't. And I've talked to Ms. Bourgeois, the new LED leader, and she's committed to connecting with EDA up in Washington. So after that, while I was there, President Trump pulled me over to the West Wing of the White House, where I served as Deputy Chief of Staff alongside Mark Meadows, my good friend from my congressional days. So after that was over, I ended up running for this seat, so I'm now your state treasurer. And really enjoying this. I was a little concerned that this might turn out to be a boring bean counting job, but it is not. Trust me, there's a lot of policy that we deal with, sometimes outside of our purview. For instance, I don't know where you stand on this, but I became concerned as a physician in this merger between Elevance and Blue Cross Blue Shield. We looked into it, there were hearings in the Senate, and I came in on the side of the Louisiana State Medical Society, which I've been a member of for a long time. And we felt like it was a bad deal for the people of Louisiana. So we're always going to stand up for you, the average person in Louisiana. That's who we listen to, not the lobbyists, not necessarily our colleagues up here. We try to work with our colleagues, but we're independent thinkers in the Treasury office. So what does a treasurer do? We have three main functions. One, of course, is to take the money that comes to us into the Treasury through your tax dollars and also from Washington. And we invest it. And we have a whole team that does that. Now, we want the highest return, but we also want it to be safe and secure. So we don't get involved in risky investments. We don't get involved in hedge funds or any of that stuff, okay? We don't want to lose any money. We We want to grow it. But in doing so, we're able to extend the money we take in and make it spread further, particularly in a time of inflation. Number two is our most popular program, and that's the unclaimed property department. And believe it or not, 1 out of 9 Louisianans is actually owed money through the unclaimed property. So I would charge you with going to the website and look at this. Good chance your name is going to be here. And we may owe you some money. And we protect your money from the governor and the legislature. Hands off, they can't have your money. If it's your money, it is not going to them. Now that hasn't always been true, but we've made sure that there's a proper firewall in place for that. And then the third function, which may be the diciest and maybe in some ways the most important, is the bond commission. Now the bond commission was created years ago. It's in our current constitution. And the purpose of the bond commission is when a town like Youngsville decides to do a project, take on debt, there needs to be some oversight. First of all, in most cases, the voters are going to have to vote because you're going to have to pay taxes. You're going to have to pay that back, whether it's a sewer system, a water system, baseball fields, whatever that might be. You, the voters, should have input to it. Depends on, of course, the type of government you have in place in your city, but that's very important. Number two, before you incur debt, the bond commission has to evaluate that to ensure that you don't get in over your head, because if you do, you could find yourselves in bankruptcy, and the state would have to take over Youngsville. And I know Youngsville is way too well managed for that to happen, but it can happen and has happened in some places. And we've actually turned down deals. We had one case of a small community that wanted to borrow money for their water system, which was an F, which means there was actual mud in the water. And we said, look, that $40,000 that you want to borrow is only a Band-Aid. Let's go back and get you some grants and other things. And then if we need to go back, and do bonds or something, we'll do that then. So it's an important function. I have to tell you that there's a bill in the House today that could take away some of our oversight to that if these deals are structured instead of debt as being a lease or a concession agreement, which we're very concerned about. So we're out stretching out to our friends and colleagues, urging them not to take this out of the purview of the bond commission, because we don't want to see your local bond ratings affected. And remember, I don't know if you've heard, but Louisiana just had an upgrade in its bond. We went from a AA negative to a AA via Standard & Poor's Global, and so we're seeing some real progress because they're seeing that we're in structural balance here in Louisiana, which means that we don't spend more than we take in. Our reserve funds, rainy day funds, are filled, so we're in good shape there. So we got a good start with this new administration, our Governor Landry, and the new legislature. We've got everything in place that we can do a lot of great things. But what we don't want to do is to see our bond rating go down. Now, why is it important to have a good bond rating? Anybody know the answer to that question?
Better rates.
Better rates, better interest rates. So when we do borrow money, we get better rates. In fact, we had a bond sale just last week, and we do it by competitive bidding process. We get all these big banks, and they send in their bids, and it has to be done in a very official way. And we got some good deals on that because with our good bond rating, we're getting it's become competitive. They want our business, so that's all important. So those are the three main functions of the Office of Treasurer. And my own sort of personal ideas here about moving our state forward is I've come out officially saying that we should repeal the personal income tax in Louisiana. And it's not just because I don't like paying taxes just like you. It's because when you look at the states around us that are soaring, they all have done away with their personal income tax. Texas, Tennessee, Florida. And I can tell you, just in the 2 or 3 months I've been here, I see evidence of plenty of wasteful spending by the state of Louisiana. We need to rein in our legislators. What I'm observing and what I see from last year's spending is that we had a very robust budget, and they couldn't wait to get their hands on it and start sending it out all across the state. We need to stop that. We need to have discipline. And what the rating agencies told us is we don't care whether you have more taxes or less taxes. It doesn't matter to us. As long as you control your spending, as long as you're disciplined, don't spend more than what you take in, what they call structural balance. Remember, we have an expiring tax, a 0.45 sales tax. Folks, I can just tell you, do your own analysis. I do not believe that we need to renew that tax. It's sending business out of the state. We're going to bring business in. We need to reduce personal income tax, hopefully do away with it entirely. Reduce corporate taxes on companies. We need to slim down our permitting processes and reduce the cost on that. We need to uncomplicate and untangle all the processes for people to start a business in Louisiana. I know I've been doing it for decades, and it's very rigid. We need to make it easy for people to start a business in this state and keep it here. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken with over the years who tell me they just can't keep their business here anymore. They go to Texas, Tennessee, even Mississippi and Arkansas. They're getting headquarters from big corporations that were started here in Louisiana. So look, I'm very optimistic. I think the future of Louisiana can be great, but we've got a lot of work to do. So reach out to your elected representatives and the local officials like the mayor, and let's keep doing the things that has given us good results. Let's expand our best practices, and the best practices that come from other states, we need to implement them here in Louisiana. So that's really all the remarks I have. I'll be happy to open up for any questions that you might have. And don't be shy. There's no such thing.
Go Navy, beat Army.
Go Navy, beat Army. That's right. I served in the Navy 6 years. You know,
We can ask him if President Trump is going to be president again.
without a question, he will be our next president. I don't think there's any doubt. People often ask me, well, what's it like to be around him? The man is hilarious. I mean, he is really, I mean, you see him, of course, when he gives speeches, but you ought to be in a room with him. He's always in control, whether it's a small room or small group or whether it's a big crowd. He's always in control. He's always the center of attention. You can imagine that. I've been in the Oval Office with him, and it's amazing. It's, you know, you just see a circuit of people coming and going, and he'll switch from one subject to another. My office, by the way, was only 10 steps from the Oval Office. And I got to work there every day for 11 months. And it was indeed a thrill. So my office was here. Mark Meadows, the chief of staff, was here. Jared Kushner was here. Mike Pence across the hallway. And again, all I had to do was go out the door and turn right. And we could just drift in there anytime we want and chat it up if we needed to. And so I have tremendous respect and adoration for President Trump. I do feel like that he's being persecuted. And I don't think the worst part of this is the fact that our former president and hopefully future president is being persecuted. But who's next? If this can be done to the President of the United States, it can be done to any one of us. Weaponizing the institutions in Washington and other places, now in the cities, and to create a biased environment where if you're in the wrong party or you have the wrong ideas, that you can be persecuted and prosecuted. So if for no other reason, I support President Trump. He endorsed me for office as well. But for no other reason that we turn this around. We must stop this because this is Marxism, and this is not going to end well if we continue down this road where we have election interference, which is going on right now. President Trump should be out campaigning. He's in a courtroom over a court case that's absolutely ridiculous. It's been bootstrapped from some minor misdemeanor that really didn't even exist in the first place. But that's been the plan. It's a plan by the Democratic Party to do these things. And again, I would never participate with Republicans who wanted to do that to a Democrat. So I don't think we should allow Democrats to do this as well. And the institutions in Washington. We know what happened from 2016 on, all the things that went on in the FBI and CIA. There was just renewal of the FISA Act, and there were tremendous abuses with that. It's going to renew again in 2 years, and hopefully we're going to fix it in 2 years, where the government can never again spy on American citizens. That is unconstitutional. We should never allow that, but it still goes on today.
Any other questions for the treasurer?
You answered every question I was going to ask. I don't want to be the first person to ask a question, but you answered everything.
So, is it anyone here today a Republican? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You don't have to answer that. I just thought, I can tell that y'all are Republican leaning, of course.
How are you enjoying the vault in your office?
Well, y'all should come see the vault. In fact, if y'all have time, you can come see it today. The Capitol was built in the early 30s. And the Treasury Department at that time had a vault, which is still there today. Of course, we don't keep any cash in that, but in those days they had to. They didn't have the capabilities that we have today, especially the digital capabilities that we have today. But it's really a neat place. It's actually our meeting room, so you go in there. There's also a set of, it looks like jail bars, but I don't think anybody was actually put behind those. Now sometimes if we have an unruly employee, we'll put him there for timeout. Just kidding. But it's just a neat place, and it has a lot of historical documents there, which many of them we're going to put into the archives because people handling them, they'll eventually be destroyed. So we want to end the possibility of that, but maybe make reproductions of those that can be observed. Some interesting things that we've worked on is we've worked with Representative Cruz to bring about gold and silver as legal tender in the state. Have y'all heard about that? There are many states, probably half the states across the country are looking into this. And the idea is that in the Constitution, states are prohibited to be involved in any currency at all but for gold and silver. And it wouldn't be that we would actually trade with gold and silver or even use it as a currency, but we can use it to back a digital type of transaction. So there's a company called Glint, but there are others, that you can purchase gold in a depository. They'll issue you a debit card, and you can go spend gold with your debit card. You might say, well, why do this? What sense does this make? Well, first of all, owning gold today, which is very popular, has been for many years, is problematic because if you buy a gold bar or a Cougaran or gold coins, you have to store them someplace, right? And that's hard to do safely because you may have to bury it in the backyard or put it under your bed or whatever. Well, now you can just buy a fractionated amount inside a depository. They have one in Texas and there are others on the rinks across the country. But then how do you spend it? Today, if you have a gold bar, if you sell it, you have to go to a broker, and that's about an 8% discount you have to give the broker. So that doesn't comport well with a good return on investment. But by digitizing it, using this digital card, the transaction costs are much, much less than 1% in most cases. So we really see a great future for this. And of course, gold is a good hedge against inflation. So if you own gold, as the dollar value decreases, which to you looks like prices are going up, right? I had dinner last night at Superior Grill. It cost $35 with a tip. Just one person. Can you believe that? I mean, the cost of food and all these commodities are going up rapidly. But if you own gold, it goes up as the prices go up because it's an asset. Same with real estate. So if you own gold in the depository and you're able to spend it, you're not hurt by inflation the way you are when you put cash into a bank. And it's possible that in the future it may even be the appreciation may be untaxable because gold would not be a collectible; it would actually be a currency. So these are the things that we're working through. We're going to try to get it passed through the Senate. We couldn't get it through the House, but it may take another year or two for people to get comfortable with this. But we're hoping to be the first state, among many states that will eventually do this, that allows gold and silver to be currency, which you can use just a debit card and get all the advantages that go with it. Thank you.
What was the company called?
Glint, Glint. It's actually a UK firm, but there are others, and there'll be many others. I mean, you can do this today. It doesn't have to be a state currency for you to be able to use it. But if it is, there may be some additional advantages, particularly tax advantages in the future.
Anyone else? Well, I'd like to thank Treasurer Fleming for coming and spending some time with us today. As we spoke about, everything is moving quite fast.
Yes.
So we appreciate you taking the time to come and speak to our class.
Right.
Thank you, Treasurer.
Thank you so much. Piece of paper. We need to move the state forward. Right now we seem to be 50th in everything good and #1 in everything bad. And I want to see at the end of my 4-year term that this is reversed completely and that we're way up there and it's good and way down and it's bad. So thank you so much. And y'all are doing the great work in Youngsville, so keep up the good work. We want to learn from you across the state. Thank you and God bless.